Good afternoon, 8th graders. This is going to be our video on solving equations with fractions and decimals. It's going to be page 20 in your notes. The only difference from what we've been doing is that these equations have fractions and decimals. In the past, we only had integers. So the steps are going to be pretty much the same. You need to think about what's with the variable and make it go away. You want the variable to be alone. You want to isolate it. And the way you do that is you look at it and think what's with it, what operation, and do the inverse, or you could call it the opposite operation. So the opposite operation of addition is subtraction. The opposite operation of multiplication is division. The opposite operation of subtraction is addition. And then division, the opposite operation is multiplication. So looking at our equation here, this one gets some people hung up. So some people think about this as subtraction, but actually what's with this variable is p is multiplication. We're multiplying by a negative 2.7. So to make multiplication go away, we divide. So divide by negative 2.7. And do the same thing here. Now you can use your calculator for this, that's fine. And when you do that, you're going to get a 4. And we need to think about this as a positive divided by a negative. So one negative sign, that makes our answer negative. On 2, we have addition. So for addition, we need to subtract. Minus 2 and 7 cents. And then I'm going to put it up here horizontally, because this will help us with this one. Now, looking at this, we're doing subtraction on both sides, but because the fraction on the right is negative that we're starting with, when we subtract, we could think about that as a negative. Our rule tells us that these have the same signs, so that means we need to add and keep the sign of the bigger number. So that would mean we have a negative answer. When we add them, we get 5/7. On 3, we have division. So we need to multiply by 7 and 5/10. So we do the same thing over here. And that would get us t equals 30. And since we had two positive numbers, our answer is going to be positive. Now you're going to do 4 on your own. And you're going to do 5 on your own. And we'll check those tomorrow. There's one more thing we need to talk about. Whenever you have an equation where there's multiplication with the variable and it's a fraction, you can do 2 steps. In 2 different ways. The first way, you're going to do pretty much what you would do in any situation with multiplication. You would divide, because you want to get rid of multiplication. So, for instance, over here we have 5/6 x equals 5/8. So we want to divide by 5/6. This will go away. So we divide by 5/6. Now when you divide the fractions, you do the reciprocal of the fraction on the right, and then you change it to multiplication. So 5/8 times 6/5. The 5's will cross-reduce to 1. The 6 and the 8 will cross-reduce by dividing by 2, and they become 3 and 4. So x equals 3/4. The second way is, instead of dividing, you can multiply by the reciprocal of whatever the fraction is being multiplied by the x. So 5/6 is being multiplied by x here. And we can just multiply both sides by that reciprocal, by 6/5. Now the reason this works is because when you multiply by the reciprocal, it makes that become 1. Because when you cross-reduce the 6's and the 5's, they become 1, and you're left with x, which is our goal. But if you did it on the left, you got to do it on the right. Now if you notice, this is the same thing as we have over here, right? 5/8 times 6/5. 5/8 times 6/5. So because we already did the work here, we know we're going to get 3/4. And you should be getting the same answer, either method. It's kind of up to you what you want to use, whatever makes the most sense to you, whatever you think is easiest, use that one. So I'll do number 1, and then number 2 you'll do on your own. Number 1, okay. We have 3/5 being multiplied by W. I'm going to use the second method. So we want to get rid of 3/5 multiplied, so we can multiply by its reciprocal, 5/3. The reason this works is because the 5 become 1s, and the 3's become 1s when we cross-reduce, and we'll be left with W. We have to do exactly the same thing we did on the left side that we did on the right. Exactly the same thing we're going to do on the right side that we did on the left side. So, times, get that multiplication sign, times 5/3. The 3's are going to cross out and become 1s, and we'll be left with 5/16. And that is it for the notes today. See you tomorrow.